Hello, BookTube. I've got a Friday reads for you, just a pile of books that I'll be reading this weekend, or into the next week. We're on the verge of what looks like a fairly messy storm on Saturday night into Sunday here in Boston. Snow, perhaps in significant accumulations, sleet, that sort of thing. So I won't be going anywhere. Well, I will be holed up and reading. The first one is a reread. It's coming out, I think it's out any day now in paperback. Yeah, it's out just now in paperback, of a book that I really, really liked. This is by Stefan Merrill Block, and it's called Oliver Loving. This is the paperback of Oliver Loving, which is about the eponymous main character is at his school when there's a shooting, and Oliver is badly wounded and is in a coma, and he's been in a coma for years when the novel opens. And I found it extremely good, extremely heartbreaking, because we see a lot of the damage that he has done to, that the loss of him has done to the town. That's why he is a black hole on the cover, a dark source of unhealthy gravitational pull for everyone around him is this tragedy. But we also see him. There's an aspect of the book that takes place in his mind. And later on, the sort of the plot thread that runs throughout the book is an experimental procedure that might restore him to some ability to communicate with the outside world. And it's done so well that it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I had the book, I read it, I reviewed it. If I remember, I'll leave my review down below. And I just counted on getting a paperback. I mentioned on this channel before that I often use the appearance of a paperback to reread the book and sort of say goodbye to it for a while, and that's what this will be. So that we'll start off with a reread. Then I don't think any of the rest of these are rereads. No, these are all these. None of the rest of these are. This next one is a beautifully designed thing. A book that comes out. When does this come out? Early February. This is by Peter Mendelsohn, and it's Same. And it's very well bound, nice and floppy. It's got the deckled edges and the French flaps. This is just what it's going to look like. This is an original paperback. What is going on here? All right, well, it doesn't matter. And this is about duplication. It's about originality and duplication. Let me see if I can... In the shifting sands of the desert, near an unnamed metropolis, there is an institute where various fellows come to undertake projects of great significance. But when our sort of hero, Percy Frobisher, arrives, surrounded by a simulated environment of glass-enclosed dome of the Institute with a capital I, his mind goes completely blank. After he spills something on his uniform, a major faux pas, he learns about a mysterious shop where you can take something and, by uttering the command same, receive a perfect duplicate. Here, Peter Mendelsohn imagines a world in which simulacra have as much value as the real, so much so that the distinction between the two vanishes. This deeply unsettling novel, an homage to Thomas Mann's classic The Magic Mountain, investigates what it means to exist and to create, and journeys to a future that may not be far off. I don't know what to make of any of that, so I'm gonna gobble it right up. Then the next one is a murder mystery. I think it comes out quite some time from now, but I'm going to... No, it's out already. And this is by Martin Walker. It is The Body in the Castle Well. It's a Bruno chief of police novel. And I really like this series. So I wonder if I have a... Let's see here. When Claudia, a young American, turns up dead in the courtyard of an ancient castle in Bruno's jurisdiction, her death is assumed to be an accident related to opioid use. But her doctor persuades Bruno that things may not be so simple. Thus begins an investigation that leads Bruno to a scholar with whom the girl had been studying, and then through the man's past. He is a renowned art historian who became extraordinarily wealthy through the sale of paintings that may have been falsely attributed, or so Claudia suggested shortly before her death. In his younger days, the artist had aided the resistance and been arrested by a Vichy policeman whose own life story also becomes inexorably entangled with the case. Also in the mix is a young falconer who works at the Chateau de Milans, a former home of fabled jazz singer Josephine Baker. In the end, of course, Bruno will tie all the loose threads together and see that justice is served. along with a generous helping of his signature cuisine. And I've enjoyed the books in the series. They're not meant for me. They're aimed at a foodie audience, I think. And I am not a foodie, but I've liked them anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. This next one is YA. It's a sequel, so I will have to find out whether or not I have the original. It's by Cat Falls, and it is Undaunted, which is the sequel to Inhuman. I think the first one was called Inhuman. Let's see here. Lane McAvoy barely survived her first journey to the Feral Zone, a forbidden, overgrown landscape east of the Mississippi River that was abandoned when a virus spread through the United States. But Lane has crossed the quarantine line, and she knows the truth. There are survivors in the zone. People who have grown feral, whose bodies have warped and evolved to display a variety of animal traits. 6 months after the events of Inhuman, okay, so Inhuman was the first one, Lane ventures back into the Feral Zone on a humanitarian mission, and she also has a darker, secret purpose. The one she loves, Rafe, has become more beast than man, and she's promised to put him down if he ever goes feral. Now Lane fears the time has come to carry out her vow. So this is due in March, I think. Yeah, this is due in March, and I vaguely remember the original one, the Inhuman, but I don't think I read it. So this would be another example of something I mentioned just recently in another video, where instead of requesting an earlier copy from the publisher, I instead go to the Boston Public Library and try and find it. So that I start to incorporate the Boston Public Library into my life again, which I've kind of missed. And I can't go there to just take off my coat and sit with my MacBook and work, because why would I do that when I have Frida back here at home, missing me? Why would I inflict that on her for no reason whatsoever? It'd be different if I needed the research of the library, but I don't. But visits there to get specific books that I actually need for a particular reason, that's entirely doable. And I want to try that out, so maybe I'll do that with Inhuman. This next one is due in May. It's a long way off, but it's a small book. I'm going to just burn right through it, and then I'll wait to reread it again when I get the finished copy. This is John Connell's The Farmer's Son, and it's about a young man who grows up in County Longford and on a farm, and then leaves to pursue a life outside of a small town in Ireland, and then decides to go back. He wants to work on a book. He wants to reconnect with writing. And in exchange for agreeing to work on the farm, he's given a roof over his head and room and board. And this is his take on, this is a book that came out of that, about what it's like to go back and dial down the speed and the tempo of your life and live on a farm. I am very familiar with rural Ireland, so this is going to bring back a lot of memories for me, and I don't think I've ever read this author, so I'm looking forward to it. And then this last one I'm going to read right away. I'm going to read all of these this weekend, but this I think is first on the list because this is actually a January release that I just haven't got to yet. This is Richard Wrangham's The Goodness Paradox. The strange relationship between virtue and violence in human evolution. And let me see if I have a pub sheet. I hadn't seen this, and then I took a look at it, and it intrigued me a great deal, because this is about where goodness comes from, and what kind of an evolutionary dance it has done with aggression. Let's see here. Highly accessible, authoritative, and intellectually provocative, a startling and original theory of how Homo sapiens came to be. Richard Wrangham forcibly argues that 250,000 years ago, rising intelligence among our ancestors led to a unique new ability with unexpected consequences. Our ancestors invented socially sanctioned capital punishment, facilitating domestication, increased cooperation, and the accumulation of culture, and ultimately the rise of civilization itself. And the author is a professor of biological anthropology at Harvard. So this looks like it's going to be really dense and just the kind of workout that I think I want. So I will be reading this first of all of these books. Do I have a specific date on this? I thought I did. I thought this was January 29th. So this is right around the corner. So there you go. That is a Friday Reads. We've got The Goodness Paradox, about where humanity actually comes from. what makes humans different from the other great apes that have survived. The Farmer's Son by John Connolly, about returning to the land. Undaunted, the sequel to Inhuman, in which a heroic young woman goes to the forbidden feral zone. The Body in the Castle Well, Bruno Chief Inspector or Chief of Police novel, a series that I just love, so I'm sure that I will like it. Same by Peter Mendelsohn, beautifully designed paperback. That's, it's in the news. 3D printers are in the news. That kind of thing. Authenticity is in the news. We'll see what this author does with it. And Oliver Loving in paperback, a novel from I think last year that I highly recommend. I highly recommend it. It's not a fun novel. It's not a happy novel, but I highly recommend it. And there you go. That is Friday Reads. Of course, I want to know what you're reading this weekend. And I also want to know where you are. Are you expecting a storm this weekend? Don't even need to be New England. Other places are expecting. But if you're in New England, are you expecting to get walloped? I've been checking. I haven't checked this afternoon, but I've been checking the models, the forecasting models, to get a handle on this storm and see what it's actually going to be like. And I need to check on that because it'll all be updated by 10 hours now. But anyway, in the meantime, tell me all about your reading, and I'll be back soon. Thank you, BookTube.